share a story, right? This one happened also a couple of years ago about project sponsors. Now, project sponsors are very interesting because if we look at, you know, the guidelines, right, it's really the project sponsors who are the ones pushing a project. Now, we are taught that project sponsors are supposed to remove barrier for us, do the political conversations with us, right? But what if your sponsor does not provide this leadership, this clout, this influence, right, to the project team? I'll share with you a story. Back when I was still managing, a few years ago, I was managing a huge organizational project in a global internal audit. So we need to do a massive organization change that impacted a lot of people, big outsourcing deal, etc., etc. Now, the sponsor was very new to the organization. She didn't have any idea of what internal audit was. Second, she was about to go on maternity leave. So that meant that I didn't have her long-term interest to really influence the project. And since she was very new, she was also still getting to know the key stakeholders in the space. And what was the impact? The impact was that every time that I needed help, she was still learning, right? Or she still struggled to get the right influence, the right political support for us to influence our project. In the same manner, she could not influence it when I needed help to influence laterally across multiple organizations. So, if you take a look at this, right, 65% of project managers experience this problem, but only 11% actually get to address this problem. So that's very interesting, right? The key symptom that I see when you don't have strong project sponsorship is if the quote-unquote pain for the project is now being handled by the project manager singularly. How many times have you experienced, right, extreme pressure as a PM, but you could not get the support from your sponsor? That's a very difficult situation. Question is, do you talk, right? And here are some techniques that help a bit in this problem. The first one is bridging, right? What this is that it's an influencing strategy of building relationships. If you need more help from the sponsor, then the first thing that you need to do is to deepen that relationship with your sponsor, right? In the case of my example earlier on, that was a very interesting scenario because in that project, I was the only one based in Asia and all my stakeholders, including my sponsor, was like all around the place. My sponsor was in the US. She came to the office at around 9, and for me to build or to bridge meant me talking to her on a more regular basis, once a week, 1 hour a week, so that she gets to understand what the project is and that she gets onboarded on the goals that we needed to do. It's really bridging. And this technique does not apply to your sponsor only, but to the folks that you want to influence, right? Whether you want to influence up, laterally, or down. The next technique here for managing difficult sponsors is actually pretty interesting, right? The second technique is also to influence laterally, right? Typically, for a lot of us, we have sponsors that are at the same organization, typically up, but what we need to realize is that sometimes key influencers in the project are also lateral, at the same level of your sponsor and so on. So it's really getting the political support that you have across the organization or in different organizations that help you, right, reach your project objectives. The third technique, and I've seen it quite a while. In fact, one of the more difficult projects I'm looking at right now, the third technique here is really changing the sponsor, right? If the sponsor, I'm not kidding. Typically, when you look at projects need to achieve specific business objectives, right? And changing of sponsors can be done if your project is important enough for management to realize that it's not moving as fast as it should be. So this is actually one of your options, right?
There was a mention earlier about change sponsor.
Yes.
How do you actually do that, and to whom do you address your concern?
I was sharing earlier, right, that we always need to come back into what the projects are supposed to address, right? Projects are always linked to business objectives, and if you see barriers to those business objectives, just escalate up. Because I haven't seen bosses or managers or business leaders who do not have the same intention of meeting certain business objectives, right? If the boss of your boss or your CEO thinks otherwise, then maybe the mindset change should be onto the project team, or maybe there should be a recalibration of what are the priorities of the project, right? But the change in sponsorship, ask it as a question, right? Is this business objective that we are supposed to do really important to the company? Because if the boss, if the CEO finds that it is important, then he or she will be willing to support you. But if not, if it needs to be delegated to other more critical priorities, then you need to rethink, right? So we need to take out the emotion of our projects being so important that we need to, get crazy on pushing the agenda of the project, because sometimes we also need to step back and look at it from a portfolio level or from a company level, right? So take up that conversation, but also be open that sometimes, we need to take things in context. I hope that answers your question.